O'Reilly. Are your wiper blades chattering, skipping, or squeaking? Don't let streaks or smearing on your windshield compromise your visibility. When it's time to replace your wiper blades, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and see our selection. Our professional parts people will even install your new wiper blades while you wait. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins.
Oh, hey, everybody. It's me, Ben O'Brien, and we're back for Quarantine Cast Daily number... What do we got, Phil? 8?
8. Number 8.
Number 8. We've got my good friend Sam Soholt. He was back and he kicked us off way back last week when times were different. And our other good friend Shane Dorian, big wave surfer, one of the best big wave surfers in the world, has done some amazing work in surfing, is a legend there, but also is one of the more passionate bow hunters you'll ever meet. So we're going to talk about our first trip to Lanai and how that went. It's a great conversation. So you enjoy it. But before we do all that, Phil, how much toilet paper do you have at your house right now?
Are you going to rob me tonight? What's happening here?
I'm prepared. No, Phil. Please give me some credit. I have discovered an online toilet paper calculator called howmuchtoiletpaper.com. And this tool calculates how long your stash of toilet paper will last during a quarantine. So I just want to help you out as a public service to let you know exactly how it'll affect you. So go ahead and give me have you counted the number of rolls of toilet paper you have?
I just did because you said this might be a thing.
Damn it, you're ruining I wanted people to think it was a surprise, Phil.
Well, here's the thing. I think it'd be weird if if I just knew off the top of my head how many rolls of toilet paper were in my house.
I wanted people to think you were prepared.
Okay, well, I am. And I just want everyone to know that I have not bought toilet paper since this whole coronavirus thing started. But I currently have 23 rolls of toilet paper in my house.
23 rolls. So you were hoarding before it was cool, is what you're saying?
Just happened to buy a ton of toilet paper right before everything, all of the shit hit the fan.
Right.
It was a nice coincidence.
What are the toilet visits per day per person in your home? I know you have a family of 4. So
this is getting a little personal now. I don't know.
The number 2 visits per day to the toilet.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to count the 1-year-old. He is still wearing diapers.
Okay, that's good. You have your wife, yourself, and your other child.
Uh-huh.
And what about Mango? Does Mango use toilet paper, or does he go in the yard?
We've been trying to train Mango. She cannot. She does not have opposable thumbs, it's not going well.
Well, not a great dog.
I'm gonna say 4. Let's say 4.
Okay. That's a healthy number.
Well, I mean like 4 total, not 4 per person.
Oh, 4 per person, so 1 total per person a day.
Well, I'd say like probably 1 for the adults and 2 for the younger kid. I'm going to guess.
Okay, so you...
I also don't track my wife's bowel movements, so...
Well, you should get. I have a spreadsheet going.
Okay,
really,
you should go ahead and forward that to me. I'll use it as a template for myself.
It's a Google Doc. We can all get in there together.
Oh, great!
Sure. All right, you drum roll, please. There it is. We were not going to put a drum roll in there. Your toilet paper will last 92 days.
Okay,
92 days.
I've got some time then.
Yeah, so you've got roughly 3 months of toilet paper stashed away. You were hoarding before hoarding was cool. So congratulations, Phil. Do you know what? Did you look what kind you have? Is it 3-ply? Charmin?
It's Charmin. I don't know because they sell 2 kinds of Charmin at Costco. One is like, this one's softer, but this one's stronger. And I think the stronger one was on sale. So I bought that one. I don't know the ply, but I know that it's hefty.
Also, we talked about this in the show. We did talk about this website in the show as well, but bidets are on the rise, Phil. There's been a spike in bidet purchases across the country.
I've always been bidet curious, but I think I might have to pull the trigger.
Pull the trigger? Soon. Yeah. So do your research. There's a lot of options out there. And I don't know that I've ever used a bidet. Have you?
I have not. No, it's one of those things where you first hear about it and you're like, oh, weird and gross. But then, I don't know, you sit on it for a while, pun intended, and you think, yeah, it's not a half bad idea. Might feel all right.
All right. Well, before that's enough of that talk, Phil. It's inappropriate. All of that's inappropriate. We should just have to cut that out. Cut that out of the show.
Will do.
We have decided. We have made a decision here, an official decision from the THC Congress, the board of directors here at THC. It's basically just me. That we're going to do this for another week. We were unsure how many weeks we would do the THC Daily Quarantine Cast, but we've had so much good feedback. A lot of people have been writing in every day. There's so many hand turkeys flying in that we feel like we can do this for another week. Keep everybody afloat, hopefully, as this helps you through your time. So we're going to, this week and next week, so you roughly have, if today's Wednesday, you roughly have 8 more daily quarantine casts to take in before we go back to our regularly scheduled program here at THC. So just a little public service announcement. That's what we plan to do. Of course, as with everything in the pandemic, things could always change. So for all of you that are out there in the many states that are on lockdown, in the many countries that are on lockdown, we're going to keep doing this for another eight episodes. You think you can hang with us there, Phil, for that long?
I will be there. Also, you told me I have no choice.
You absolutely have no choice. So
okay.
Phil will hang on with us as long as I say, and we'll be here to do our best to entertain you and tell you hunting stories until the end of next week, all the way into April. So stick with us, but enjoy this one. Shane Dorian and Sam Soholt. Quarantine Cast number 8. Hey, Shane Dorian.
Good morning. I don't know if it's morning where you are, but good morning.
I don't know what it is. I've been drinking White Claw all day, so I'm not sure what time it is. Right here, dude. Sam Soholt, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on during the quarantine cast.
Yeah, the quarantine cast has been going well. We're still quarantined. Shane Dorian just told us he was at the beach. So tell us about that, Shane Dorian.
Yeah, so there's a big official statewide lockdown in Hawaii, which means you get to go surfing as much as you want. I'm not kidding. That's exactly what the governor said. So
I love Hawaii so much.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, so we've been holed up at the house a bit more than usual, spending more time at home and spending a lot of time with the family and stuff. And but yeah, I just came from the beach. The surf was good, and I'm going to do a podcast with you guys, and I'm going to head back down.
Well, thank
I love
you,
it, man. That's awesome.
Thank you for allowing us to be your break. Stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. I will. Don't pull a muscle. Sure. So tell us, Shane. Those of you that don't know Shane, one of the best big wave surfers of all time, out of Hawaii. You can go back to listen to our podcast with him last year. So we'll take a quick moment for you to do that. And we're back. Now you know everything about Shane you need to know. And so, Shane, tell us a little bit about kind of like your setup during your quarantine and how you're processing this and dealing with it. I think we already know, but give us more detail.
Probably like most people out there, I think we're all spending more time in our homes and probably had to cancel a lot of things that we had planned. I had a bunch of, surf trips planned and, different things that I had scheduled during this time. And so all that just kind of got put on hold. And, this thing is kind of radical because it doesn't care if you're like a homeless person or a U.S. senator. Like, it seems like it's sort of affecting every single person on the planet at this point. If not right now, then it will be soon. So yeah, just spending more time with the family. And luckily the surf is pretty uncrowded around where I live. So you're able to still surf and still keep your distance from other people. So that's kind of what I've been up to. But a lot of Monopoly and board games and trying to exercise in my house and not get too fat.
How are the kiddos doing?
They're good, man. They're super good. My daughter's been doing tons of arts and crafts and organizing and stuff like that. And me and my son have just been spending a lot of time in the water, so it's been good.
Good. Sam, we checked with you last week, but give us an update. I'm assuming you're in, where are you, South Dakota?
I am in North Dakota right now. Yep. So I have just been it's been crappy weather, so I've just kind of been like riding out the gray and staying home, being fairly productive so far, getting some much needed video editing work done before turkey season starts.
Texted me all kind of memes. And,
I get bored and I come up with memes on my own, so I have been sharing those as I go. You can't leave me by myself.
No.
Locked up. I just come up with the most ridiculous shit.
Sam, you got a lot of energy, dude. I remember that about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a little ball energy. That's what
right.
I call him.
Yep.
It's a little bit strange that this quarantine and this time is sort of coming when there's not really a hunting season. Is that right?
It is.
If it was elk season, like all the public land would be closed, correct?
It's hard to say. States like Illinois have closed down some state parks and stuff.
Yeah.
Which, a lot of people are up in arms about, but honestly, it's because they have to have a staff at a lot of those state parks, and a lot of times there's like a big parking lot and they don't want people congregating. But it'd be hard to say for like national forest, what do you do? I mean, it's not like most of the time when people go to the forest, they're attempting to stay away from other people.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know what would happen if there was
I was curious.
Yeah.
It's been a big issue and a big boon for state parks and national parks where there's facilities like they have and employees that have to keep up those facilities. But as far as I know, national forests have kind of and some of these more wilderness designated areas have been unaffected. But it would be strange. We were talking about that yesterday, Shane. Like if this happened in September, what would it look like for us hunters? I have no way to know. Hopefully we don't have to worry about that. When September turns, we can be talking about this in the past, but it's a strange thing nonetheless. I think that I'm not sure. I don't know what you think, Shane, but I'm not sure I could leave my family for a long time right now and be out of touch like I normally would when I'm hunting.
Yeah, it's definitely just I think a time where it's kind of a no-brainer to spend the time with the family, and I think any time where you have a great excuse to not go to work so much is a good time. And if you're in a position where you can spend more time with the family and it doesn't take you to financial ruin, then it's a good thing. So it is a weird time though. It's pretty crazy. I've never watched the news before, dude. I never ever watched the news. I don't have television at my house, so every now and then I'll like open up like an app on my phone, like a news app, so I'll get my news. But it's strange to actually watch like CNN or Fox News, and it's pretty hilarious, dude. Like I don't know, it's kind of shocking like to watch those. It's not even news, it's just entertainment. So I've been watching a bit of news, staying entertained.
I've had a few rants on this daily podcast about the news, and I'm same as you. I don't watch it. I mean, I never do. I don't have to see any value in it. And now that I'm trying to get informed, every time I turn it on, I just get angry.
Yeah.
I don't know, like Sean Hannity. What is he doing? Like,
I love that guy, dude. He's amazing. He's so out there and so extreme and out of his mind that I love it. It's just pure entertainment. So I don't know. I mean, if I actually want the news, I'll watch like BBC World News, and I think that's actual news. But Sean Hannity and I mean, most of the stuff that's on television is basically just propaganda as far as I'm concerned. But it's funny propaganda. So
well, Sean Hannity
for entertainment.
Sean Hannity is slowly turning into Donald Trump. Every time like people get triggered when you say Donald Trump, but I've never watched Sean Hannity before. And I turned him on. I'm like, well, he's orange, and he's using all the same phrases, and he's got the same dictation in his voice, diction, and his like the way he talks, his cadence. He sounds like Donald Trump. I was like, this guy's slowly morphing into our president. Nobody noticed.
Yeah, I just Googled some pictures of him, and I would say that's correct.
Yeah.
Google if anybody is caught on to this, because he's slow. He's got like jet white teeth. And he's slowly becoming Trump. And I think that's probably on purpose.
There's about 10,000 people listening to this podcast right now that are just up in arms, furious, throwing stuff at at you, Ben, at your
They're just
face.
smashing their phones.
That's fine.
They're just huge Hannity supporters and Hannity fans.
I'd like to court the Hannity vote here.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think the most interesting thing is to like watch both sides of it and see how far apart they are. It's unreal, like how divided and like the message from each side. I mean, you like kind of bring that back to the middle, and you might get somewhere close to what we're actually looking at.
It makes it much more fun though, how biased it is. It's funny to watch. You just can't take it seriously.
It's a game you can play with yourself. You can flip on CNN and then flip on Fox News and then go back and forth, give it about 10 minutes each. And if you do that for an hour, you immediately pass out from exhaustion.
I've been doing that a lot lately. I'm sure everybody has.
I love it. Well, I've been on the news today. I turned it on before we hit record here. A couple of things I saw. I just wanted to run by you guys. Are you guys both good? Sam, you were the first person to alert me of the toilet paper shortages. And this was like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Uh-huh.
So right now there's been a spike in bidet purchases around the world.
Oh, man.
Every 2 minutes, this company called Brondell is selling a bidet on Amazon every 2 minutes.
Nice.
They're about 3,000 units per day. So... If you're out there and you like bidets, you can go for that. But there's also a website called the Online Toilet Paper Calculator, howmuchtoiletpaper.com, a website created so you can calculate how long your stash of toilet paper will last during the quarantine.
Oh my God!
See, this coronavirus is sparking innovation, and
that's right. So nobody on this call is worried about their toilet paper stash?
No, I'm set. I'm good.
I live in the woods, dude. My house is in the woods, so if I need to, I'll just go to the woods like I normally do when I'm bow hunting.
Yep. You have a lot of those big different like banana leaf trees and stuff. I probably said that wrong. You can go out there.
Never-ending toilet paper rolls out in the woods.
Yeah.
So here in North Dakota, they just had an article out where there's like quote unquote flushable wipes.
Yep.
And they're not actually flushable. So there was a photo of like this massive clog that hanging from like a wire that they had to like use a giant snake in the sewer system to pull it out because the city had clogged the sewer system with non-flushable wipes.
Quote unquote flushable.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So are you guys on complete lockdown where you are? Are you guys like going outside to shoot your bows or what?
Sam?
Yeah, we're not on complete lockdown. In North Dakota, they've shut down, bars and restaurants except for takeout, but everything else is open. And
yeah, same here.
I would say the majority of people in this state I shouldn't say majority. There's a lot of people not taking it very seriously and, living life like they typically do. Like St. Patty's Day, the bars were absolutely packed downtown. Wow. And then the next day they closed down bars and restaurants. So.
Yeah, same here. We're not completely locked down, but there's so many places to go outside in Montana for sure that, no different than Hawaii, I'm sure, Shane, but there's just really no excuse to go out and do anything like that at this point. You can do a million things here without being anywhere near 6 feet from someone. So the only issue here is the trailheads. Usually the trails aren't 6 feet wide, so when we go hiking, you kind of have to have a wide berth. But beyond that, everything's fine. And every restaurant, if we order takeout from a restaurant, man, they're the most grateful people that I've ever seen when you go spend money at a local place.
I wonder what, how much, Uber Eats and Postmates and, what's the percentage increase on that in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, crazy. Those businesses are crushing it. DoorDash.
Yep, exactly.
Well, here's the thing that struck me the most that I was reading about is you look at some of the pollution coming out of China, major cities in China, major city like New York City. They were showing infrared maps of the heat zones for pollution, and I think it's down 30 to 40%. You can barely see it in those heat maps because nobody's out creating any. Same thing with noise pollution. People can hear birds they never heard before. They can hear sounds in these cityscapes that they'd never heard. So, we're just creating these completely new environments to experience these things in these places, which to me is a little freaky.
So you're saying we're the problem?
I'm not going to say it.
And the solution all at the same time?
We already got those Hannity people up in arms. Now they're thinking we're environmentalists.
Yeah, people can think what they want. It's okay. We're all out here trying to protect what we all love to do. So.
That's right. Well, beyond the toilet paper and all that stuff, I wanted to tell a hunting story because that's better than anything right now. Hunting stories can be some sort of medicine, and it all starts. I'm going to try to play this video, and if it all starts with a video that was created by myself and Joe Rogan and John Dudley.
In Vegas, right?
In Vegas. I have the video. We'll see if you guys can hear it. I'm not sure how to make that happen, but I'll put it up to the screen so you can hear it.
Dane Dorian, we're looking to come to Hawaii and experience axis deer hunting on Lanai. Definitely. Yeah, I fucking want to do it. The plan is 6 a.m. to noon, axis deer whacking, noon to until we fall asleep, food and drink. Are you in, big wave surfer? Yeah.
That last scream was me. That was me. So I went a little deep on the tequila that evening in Vegas. So that's where this hunting story kind of starts at me, Rogan, Dudley. Were you at that dinner, Sam?
I was. Oh, yeah, I think so, actually.
I'm guessing that's not during Sober October.
No, that was Blackout January.
I was not at that dinner that time.
That was Blackout January. We went to dinner with, I believe Under Armour took us to dinner in Vegas at SHOT Show. And the great and powerful Andy Stumpf, if you guys don't know Andy Stumpf, he was just on Rogan's podcast the other day. He's a crazy person, former Navy SEAL, base jumper, crazy individual. He crashes the dinner and just orders, I don't know how many bottles of tequila, and pass shots around. And next thing I know, I'm screaming in a video to Shane Dorian about how much it is that I want to come to Lanai and hunt axis deer. Do you have any recollections on that, Shane?
I do. I remember getting that voicemail, and it was the next day, and I never checked my voicemails, but I checked my voicemail, and I remember cracking up and just calling you guys, just tripping out. And I talked to Joe, and he was fired up, but it was classic because we had sort of talked about that before, but that was the first time I kind of took you guys seriously, that you guys really had it in your minds where you wanted to come into Hawaii and go bow hunting for deer.
Yeah, because this is after we had hunted New Zealand, right, Shane? And you had told me all about Lanai when we were down hunting South Island, New Zealand, in the Alps. Yeah. And you had kind of explained how cool it was and that we needed to get over there and kind of that it was this idyllic situation with all these non-native deer running around and the best bow hunting opportunities you could ever think of. And you know, that's a couple 6-8 months later, we're all drunk and we decide that this has to happen. And when did you first hear about it, Sam? Did I call you and say, take some photos of us?
Yeah, exactly. You called me up and you're like, hey, we got a big group of people going over to Hawaii to hunt axis deer. And if you want, you can buy a hunting license. And I was like, yeah, I'll be there. I could not say yes fast enough.
As a photographer, Sam's one weakness is that like, I'll pay you $5 and then you can hunt. And that's he's like, yes, yeah, sold.
See, the problem with, probably not a problem, but I do get the question a lot, like, you know, if you could choose between either having a gun or a bow or a camera in your hand, what would you choose? And I'm always going to choose the weapon every time, 100%. Like, I shoot photos so I can hunt more, not the other way around.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there because they're great and they're super friendly and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where Land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to Land.com today to turn one day into today. Because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
So yeah, whenever I would call Sam, be like, "Hey man, we're going on a trip, we're doing it. I'd love you to come take some photos." If I could get him a tag, I could also get myself a discount on the photography rates. That's why I love you, Sammy.
Yep. Well, the first time we ever on that trip with Rogan up in BC, I was like, we need to come back and I want to have a tag. And I remember you going, now that's the kind of photographer I want in camp.
Yeah. I don't want somebody riding on the sidelines. Yeah, man. So Shane, you want to give everybody a rundown on Lanai, the island, kind of the same kind of the hype explanation you gave me when we were hunting together that got us so excited about it.
Yeah, I think I just kind of probably overhyped it at the time to you guys, but at the time, and that was a little bit of a different time, but at the time I was going over to Lanai 3 or 4 times a year, and I have a couple of really good friends that live there full time that are Lanai residents, and it's the only place in Hawaii that has like legally broken up areas for archery that you can get a tag. that's good for the whole year. Like you can basically hunt 365 days a year there with your bow. And there's a lot of great archery opportunities there. And it's fun to be able to share that with friends. And there's a lot of deer there. There's high numbers of deer. So many, in fact, that they need to cull the deer a lot. So it's just a lot of fun to bow hunt because there's not really a limit and you can just have a blast. And so I just wanted you guys to come experience it and just, hunting axis deer. And for me, they're probably one of my very favorite animals to hunt. They're incredibly challenging and incredibly delicious and beautiful creatures, and to experience them in the rut and to see those big bucks screaming their heads off and fighting, and they're just a blast to hunt and really hard. Make you want to buy a gun if you hunt them with a bow.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations. Lanai is definitely, it's a 90,000 acre island, but you're hunting we're hunting in the center of the island. There's a big flat plain, looks like a botanical garden. I think Sam one time described it to me, and they call it the Serengeti. Is that right? Is it the Serengeti? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They call it the Serengeti, and it's full. I don't know how many deer per square yard. But there's thousands of deer. There's thousands of deer. I mean, you can't walk 10 feet without spooking a deer.
But what happens when you spook one deer?
They all run to the water and swim to the mainland.
It sounds really easy the way you're explaining it, and if you don't set foot in there, if you just pull up on the side of the road and you glass it, you just go, that's got to be the easiest hunt in the world. And if you have a rifle in your hand, I think it is.
So I would like to use a coronavirus analogy in comparison to scaring one axis deer. So each axis deer that you scare will scare on average 3 to 5 other axis deer. And as they run away, those 3 to 5 also scare 3 to 5. And all of a sudden you have 500 to 1,000 deer running away, making a very shrill, high-pitched sound back at you, which is it's just really like just F you, which is kind of funny and awesome all at the same time.
Can you give us, Sam? Let's give it to us, Sammy.
Excuse me. All right. So I should have been practicing before this. I had it down when I was on the island, but so the scared axis deer sounds like this.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
But they basically bark at you, right? So
yeah.
Yep. So they call when they're in the rut, they roar. And
you want me to do that one too?
Yeah, go for it.
How cool is it though when you're just sitting there and you're kind of like in the middle of the day and you're kind of sitting there eating your sandwich and all of a sudden you hear that like 100 yards away and you're just like instantly in like stalk mode where you just thought there was nothing for miles, and it's just I don't know. Well, okay, boys, on a scale of 1 to 10, is like between all your hunting experiences collectively, hunting axis deer in Hawaii on a scale of 1 to 10, factoring in like the challenge, the meat quality, the super fun times socially with friends, and like just as far as like having a blast bow hunting for deer.
Yeah, I mean, based on my last time there, a 9.9.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely over a 9. That hunt is you can't describe how good it is.
And it's just like you said, Shane, if you were to look across that landscape, you would think, oh, there's a simple hunt. It's flat as a pancake, but there's a lot of flora. There's a lot of cover to belly crawl, to get down, to get close. But there's so many deer, and they're so on edge. They were trained that way in their native ranges of India by Bengal tigers, and it's baked in their genetics to be spooky. Probably the spookiest animal I've ever hunted, and it's not even close. But if you would just like imagine Sam's analogy of like a virus spreading, one deer spooks, and next thing you know, it's over. And you have to sit there and sadly watch. I don't know how many groups of like 100 deer I sat and just sadly watched run off. Who knows? Countless.
Well, and it's funny because when you're bow hunting in there, and I've bow hunted there with no group, where it was just me a lot of times, and I went from like being able to glass literally at one time 1,500 deer at once. Like from one place where I was standing, I was glassing 1,500 deer, and within 15 minutes there wasn't a single deer there because I spooked them all. You know, like just one bunch spooked like 4 more bunches, and they all just kept spooking all the way until there was like basically none left in that whole zone. And I just was sitting there just going, what? And of course there were still deer in there, but it was just amazing how fast it can go from they're all out there frolicking and feeding to they're all running full speed like they got shot out of a cannon.
Oh, I know. You could go on a week-long mule deer hunt and not spook a mule deer. Like, I've done that. You hunt mule deer for 5 or 6 days and not spook one, or spook just a few here and there. And you have to deal with that as like a failure. What axis deer hunting is, especially on Lanai, is just successive failure, then another failure, then another failure, then another failure. And eventually you get lucky enough to put an arrow in one. And it's a huge thing. But I remember the first time I went out there, I didn't know how long to belly crawl, but I felt like, well, if I just keep belly crawling this direction, if I just plant my ass in the red dirt and I just crawl south with the wind in my face, I'll eventually come on a good shot. But that almost never happens.
Can you imagine living there full time and having like a normal, say like a 9 to 5 or like a normal job where like you get off work and you can go bow hunt deer every single day, 365 days a year, and almost guaranteed get under 50 yards of a deer every single day of your life and have no limit as far as
and they just be, and you have Bob. We'll talk about Bob the Butcher. We should.
But imagine how crazy your like learning curve acceleration would be as a bow hunter. Think of the amount of experience and interactions with deer and like actual great opportunities of drawing your bow back and like, you know, picking a spot and going through your whole shot process and belly crawling and learning when to draw and all that stuff. Like how much experience, like it's arguable that like Jason Medeiros, who's a really good friend of mine who lives on Lanai, who basically bow hunts probably 5 days a week for the last 30 years. It's like realistic to think that he's probably bow hunted more than almost anyone on earth. There's not very many people who have probably bow hunted as much as him, and he's probably has more experience than most people do in their whole lives, you know, in like a 2-year period.
Yeah, brother Jay. You're right about that, and the other thing is it's spot and stalk bow hunting for sure, but it's also if you can learn that animal and kind of pattern the unpatternable in terms of how many deer there are and where they're going to be and where you need to be, where the wind's going to be predominantly, because you're dealing with, you know, like winds off the ocean. That's a skill that can be transferred almost anywhere, in my opinion. Just measuring a mule deer or an elk or a fallow deer or any other thing that you and I have ever hunted, Shane, measuring that against an axis deer, you're going to be better. It's like lifting weights. You're going to be stronger, and everything else is going to feel lighter.
That's what I love about them. That's what I love about them is every time I hunt them, even if I'm unsuccessful, I feel like I've gotten better. Just because you get a lot of opportunities. Even if you blow those opportunities, you get a ton of opportunities. Like you could go mule deer hunting for a week and just get a bunch of exercise, you know? And I love mule deer hunting. I love mule deer. Like they're right at the top of my list, but there's times where you go for days where you just feel like all you did was hike from ridge to ridge and glass, you know?
Yeah.
Which is not that bad either, but it is fun to get tons of opportunities.
Yeah, and I know Joe Rogan has said on his podcast and stuff he's talked about before, like it's a great practice, and he's told me that people give him a lot of shit about that because you want to be practicing. But he doesn't mean practicing killing things. He means practicing the art of spot and stalk, big game hunting, and knowing when to draw, when to shoot, what to do. I mean, there's no, like you said, the amount of opportunity that you run into provides for the ultimate training. And that's just the fact of how it is.
It reminds me a lot of spot and stock antelope hunting, but like tenfold.
Yeah.
And it's just to be able to like be like you guys are saying, like just to be on stocks all day, every day, like you just start to learn and pick stuff up and do different stuff like the whole way through. And you get better. You get better every single time you're out there.
That's right. So do you, Shane, do you remember that first hunt? I remember gathering at the condos there on the island. It was Dudley, me, you, Sam, Joe, I think, was the whole crew that time. I didn't know what to expect. I have a story of making the best shot of my life that was almost as silly. It was as much luck as it was determination. But I personally had been practicing in my backyard in Texas at 80 yards every night. I would go out and shoot this elk target at 80 yards every night. Boom, boom, boom. And I felt pretty good about going into it after what you had said, about the opportunities, about how hard it was. And I was pretty pumped up. But like with our crew, I knew that, with your experience on the island, with anybody who knows who John Dudley is, he's one of the best bow shots that you're going to find, and here we were trying to accomplish this, and I didn't want to mess it up, so I'd been practicing my ass off, and I was pretty nervous going into it. Well, you remember that, Shane? Kind of like how we were going to attack this first hunt.
Yeah, I remember just really wanting you guys to have a lot of transparency to what you were getting into, like every time I go hunting somewhere I've never been before or hunting an animal I've never hunted before, I want to know everything. Like I want to know about the terrain, what kind of boots I need to use, what kind of clothes to bring, like whether it's like a cold weather hunt, whether I need to bring rain gear, like what kind of pack. I want details. So I try to be really transparent and, exactly what to expect. And I was like, dude, it's going to be hot. There's going to be crap loads of animals. And it's going to be hard as hell. So if you can shoot 60 yards and you can belly crawl, you're going to get a lot of opportunities. So I remember it's really a simple hunt. It's really, really challenging. And you got to be able to stay super low, go super slow. And it helps so much if you can shoot far.
Yeah. The first that we went out, it was me and you together. I remember the first time that I got to hunt. And it was an education just there. We got out of the truck and walked like 20 yards into the bushes, and you already had your face mask up and you were on your hands and knees. And I was looking around, I'm like, what are you doing, man? You want to glass a little bit? You want to look around? Let's maybe like check the wind. And I look up and you were just crawling off in one direction. I'm like, okay, man, I guess I'll do that.
They're everywhere.
Get down.
Yeah, it's like a war zone in there, dude. They're literally, and they're kind of smaller animals, and the grass is kind of tall, and so they hide really well. And it's not like mule deer where like you're like, hey, there's a buck and 2 does, or there's 3 bucks right there. It's like, like with axis deer, if you see 5, there's probably 35. And
yeah. It's hard for me. I don't know about you guys. Sam, I don't know about you, but it's hard for me to remember specific stalks from those hunts because there's so many. I just remember like a series of failures when Shane was there, but I don't remember the specific like, oh, this buck, he looked like this and he was doing
what
this.
What are you trying to say? Was that my fault that there was a lot of failures?
No.
When Shane was there.
But I remember I remember you saying like, we should split up.
I'm always saying that, dude.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
so being the photographer, like obviously, like there were so many stocks, like when I was shooting photos of somebody else, that a lot of those like kind of all blur together. But because I had so limited time, like to hunt for myself, I definitely remember those more clearly because I wasn't doing it, for the full 5 days or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like,
well,
it helps that I have all the pictures, to go back through and check it all out too.
Well, give us, Sam, before we get into mine, give us your first axis deer on Lanai kill.
Yeah, so you and I were hunting together.
Really?
And
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe you don't remember that. So it was, I don't know, I think it was the third day of that first year. and there's like a big flat that they dropped us off on. And basically there's a road that, like on the south side of the road, it's kind of like shorter shrubbery. And that first year it was actually really short, and there was like a few tall bushes here and there. But to the north of that road was like, I remember Remy Warren saying, like, in those trees is infinity deer. But every night they would come out of the trees and cross that road and go into this lower stuff to go eat. And you and I got dropped off, and we were a little bit late, and so the deer were already starting to pile out of that. And we snuck down and got kind of behind this big bush, and there were a few that were coming out across the road, and they were going to walk semi-close to us, and you were like, hey, man, just go for it. So I got on my belly, and I crawled 60, 70 yards to the next bush, and they were still moving, kind of like quartering to us. And I stayed on my belly and got another 50, 60 yards to like just really tiny bushes. And there was a really big buck at like 75 yards. But he was kind of moving through the brush. And there was a good buck at 52 yards, but he was facing straight away from me. And but I knew I could get in position and get like settled in and draw back when he turned the right direction. So I just forgot about this giant buck, a 32-inch axis deer, and put all my focus into this other deer. And finally he turned, I drew back, shot, made a good shot. He ran, 70 yards and died. And you came over and we're walking over to find him. And Alec called us, our guide. And he goes, you shot the wrong one. It's like, that other one was way bigger. And so let just a tiny bit of the wind out of the sails at my first ever axis deer. But I laugh about it to this day. Like, just he could not figure out why I would have taken the shot on a smaller buck, even though it was the shot that I had. But yeah, just happened to make the right moves at the right time and didn't scare him before I got the shot off.
I know, it's great for me sitting back and watching that, because you killed the following year. I think it's the following year, the year after, whatever. The next time we went, you killed a deer in almost nearly the same spot. Like maybe.
Yeah, probably 100 yards from where I killed that first deer.
Yeah, you could have seen each deer, And so I remember that being funny in the second one. But for this one, I just got to sit there and watch this all go down. And I was thinking the same thing, if I was being honest. I'm like, oh, he's going to get that. He's going to take a shot at that big one. He's just, all you got to do is crawl to the next bush. You couldn't, at this point, I just want to be like, Sam, just crawl left. Go left. and
I couldn't move.
Yeah, and I appreciated, like, when you told me the story, like, I just couldn't, from my angle, I thought for sure you were just going to keep crawling.
Yeah.
But when you stood up and shot that deer, I couldn't have been more excited, because I know I had already killed a buck at that point, but I knew from everyone else in camp how hard that was. And that was your first attempt, right? Your first stalk.
It was actually my second, but the first attempt, I'll be honest, I shoulder punched one and did not get him.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. It's all coming back.
That was like a 35-second stalk. Like, you guys threw me out of the pickup, and I basically sprinted as hard as I could to get in position. And he, they're fast, so they whirled around, and I didn't make it happen.
Yeah, but It's to the point where these things have the quick twitch muscle of it's otherworldly, and so I've had you and I guess we'll tell the story later on of my shot. What did I say to Sam?
Bomb City.
I shot at this doe at probably like 40 yards or less, and she ducked my arrow like it wasn't even a problem. I've never seen anything like it. And, of course, I yelled Bomb City as I let it go. That might have been the problem. Good. That might have been the problem. But, yeah, Sam gets his first buck, and it was a really nice stag. I found out earlier last week when I was talking to Callahan about axis deer that it actually is stag and doe. And that's actually the nomenclature. So, anyway, stag and doe. But I walk up on your stag. I'm like, to me, that's a giant. I'm no expert with axis deer, but the one you killed was a wall hanger to me.
Oh yeah, he's a cool, super dark horned buck. I'm still proud of him.
Yes, and I guess I could tell mine now. Like, because I think had just been with Shane, and Shane, as he said earlier, always wants to split up. He's like, let's always split up. You go this way, I'll go that way. I think this was the afternoon of the first day, and I had missed an easy shot on a small buck. It was about a 39-yard shot on a buck. Had no idea I was there. I had snuck up on this little berm. He was right below me. I stood up to draw. He didn't see me. Other deer had run, but he didn't see me, and I just shot right over his back. There was no reason for me to have missed. I was really dejected. I wasn't really used to missing like that. But as Shane said, like I remember flipping around on the berm and looking out to the east, and there was 1,000 deer there. I had just shot and missed one, and I turned around, and there's a bunch of other deer just feeding. So I crawled back down and started belly crawling towards them, in that nuclear red dirt of Lanai that just covers everything. I still have a Matthews bow that has, I put black hockey tape on the grip, and that hockey tape is red, like bright red. I still have pants that the knees are stained bright red from the Lanai dirt. And so I'm crawling up. There's a group of probably 100 deer with a giant buck in the middle, and then some satellite bucks around, or stags around. I keep saying bucks, but it's stags. So I'm belly crawling, and I get to, as you guys well know, you get to a spot, and you can confer this, Shane, you get to like a zone where you can make no mistakes. Within like 100 yards of a group of axes, there's no mistakes to be made, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so I get to that zone, and I pick out a buck that I know I can make a move on. So I start crawling. I get to probably 70 yards of this buck, and I look to my right, and here is axis doe about to step on me. And so I just kind of like rolled over. She jumps and does give me a quick blow there, a bark there, Sam. Hey! There it is. That's what she did. And she goes running off towards the buck and stands right with the buck. So now he's looking my direction. So I laid there for I don't know how long. It felt like 20 minutes. Probably was way less than that. I lay there. I get my binos up. I look, and there's 70 deer staring right at me. So I'm like, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm stuck right here. So I lay there for I don't know how long. It was a pretty good while trying to get them to calm down. But axis deer, they still hadn't calmed. Like the back half of the group started to calm and go back to feeding and kind of do their normal movements. So I was feeling pretty good, and I got up on a little spot where I could draw easily from my knees without having to do anything. And this nice buck, I had been practicing at 80 yards at a broadside elk for, I don't know, 8 months prior to this hunt. For this exact moment, the buck I had been watching stands up on a little mound and starts watching some does chasing each other the opposite of my direction. So now he's standing broadside, looking the opposite way. So I draw. I'm like, this is it, man. It's 81 yards. I draw. This is what I've been practicing. I draw. I settle my pin. I feel perfect about it. No doubts. I let that thing fly. I watch it. You know how an 80-yard shot, you can watch it in the air for quite a while. I watch it in the air. He doesn't twitch. He doesn't move. And it drops perfectly behind his shoulder. And he runs off into this cloud of dust, red dust, and axis deer. And I get to a point where I can't see anything. It's chaos. Like there's deer going every which direction. I probably could have shot at another 2 or 3 deer during the chaos. And I hear some kicking and some brush movement, so I just kind of walk over towards that, and I turn the corner, and there lays this buck dead. He must have went 20 yards. I shot him right in the heart. Wow. I never wished that somebody was with me more than that moment.
That's awesome.
I was like, I remember just thinking, how is nobody here to see this?
Shane was such a dick. He wanted to split up.
Yeah, Shane made me go by myself. So I was alone, and I remember one of the other guides, Brandon, was watching me from the truck and saw me shoot and drove his truck over to where the buck was. And he's like, how long was that shot? And I said, I don't know. I think it was 80-some yards, and he couldn't believe it. He was losing his mind. He saw how far it went. He's like, well, it basically just fell right over. And I'm like, I know, I'm shocked as you. I was confident in the shot, but you're never confident in the result, especially this early on. I I'm sure I will never duplicate that. I'm sure of it. But
But you can
whatever.
try.
I can try. And that was my first experience with Axis Deer.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there because they're great and they're super friendly and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
Hell yes. I love it. I love it. I remember that. I remember getting the photograph of you and just being so psyched going, yeah, Benny. I was amped, dude.
And I was screaming. I was alone. I was just screaming like, yeah, yes, I did it. That was it, man.
And that's an accomplishment, man. Any Axis deer with a bow, is and there's so much that goes into it and so many little tiny things that can go wrong, any number of things, and they tend to really move a lot when they hear any kind of like the string dump or like anything at all. Like I've gotten busted doing everything, like drawing my bow back if my cams had too much dust in them and they did a little wah as I was drawing back, or if there was like the little thing on your rest, the little piece of whatever it is that keeps it quiet. Yeah. And that, that thing was wearing out a couple different times and I got busted just like drawing back, and it went like that. Yep. And all of them ran, or all of them started barking at me. So, I mean, anytime you get an arrow through an Axis deer, it's a win.
Yeah. At that moment, I'm sure Sam was the same way. Like, I just didn't know what I didn't know. I did.
My dog doesn't like the garage door.
I was wondering whose dog that was.
That's mine.
That's the quarantine cast for you. I always have my kid comes in a Batman mask every 20 minutes.
Nice.
That's the quarantine cast. That's all we got. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how incredibly fortunate I had been in that scenario until the next year, when I don't know how many deer I missed. Luckily, I didn't wound anything, but I just had I just was so mentally out of it by the end of that trip that then I appreciated what I had accomplished the year prior to that. So it takes some time. I know, Shane, you had so much experience with them, but it took me some time to realize exactly how hard this is, the variability of success, what it meant to get into the right position, to have it all go the way you needed it to, and how rare that is for even an average bow hunter, somebody with an average skill set, and only if you've never done it, what that really feels like. Can you remember the first time going over there, Shane?
Yeah, I can. I remember the first time I ever went over there, I went to Lanai, and I had been talking with Jason Medeiros on the phone, and I had seen a bunch of photographs of him with a bunch of deer, and one day, I had some guys come to my house to do. They were doing some painting on the outside of my house, and I started talking to one of the painters, and we started talking. I had a bunch of ram skulls outside in the garage, and he was talking to me about the ram skulls, and it turns out he was a hunter, and he was like, "Man, you got to link up with my cousin Jason. He lives on Lanai, and he's a hardcore bow hunter, Jason Medeiros." And I said, "Yeah, man, I know exactly who that is. Hook me up. I'll go over there for sure." So he gets Jason on the phone. We start chatting on the phone, and he says, "Yeah, man, you should come visit anytime you want." So about a month later, I jumped on a plane to Lanai, and Jason picked me up, and I had no idea what to expect. I went and got my tag, my license thing, and we walked into the field in a public hunting area, and he put me like in this little brush blind that he had built. And it was just basically it was like a 5-gallon bucket on the ground, and then like some brush, like I was brushed into this blind. And in front of me was like a kind of like a road, basically like a dirt path, like a long dirt patch that you could drive along. And he said, if you get really lucky, the deer will come out before dark. Like there's hundreds of deer in these bushes across from you. And so he sat in a blind that was like maybe 80 yards just up that little dirt road from me. And so I'm sitting there, and the whole time I'm so paranoid. I was so excited. And every little leaf that would drop, and every little thing that was happening, I was like, is that one? Is that one? Is that one? For an hour straight. And nothing came out. And the whole time I was pinned, just like looking at everything, like, okay, I'm gonna be ready. I had my bow at the ready. I had my arrow knocked. I had my release on, because he's like, dude, you got to be really ready. All of a sudden they'll just appear. So the whole time I was just like totally ready. And I swear I must have looked down for like 3 seconds. No joke. Like I was like looking down and looking up, just like, I look down, I look up, and about 15 yards away, there's this monster buck. And I'm talking a monster buck. I'll send you a picture of it, Ben. And he was standing there looking right at me at 15 yards away, with a wide open. I never saw him come out of the bushes. I never heard him going down a trail, nothing. He just appeared in the wide open. And I'm sitting there in a bush that wasn't really super brushed in. And I was like, hey, I need to draw. And he like looked at me, and he put his head kind of down halfway and started walking straight towards me. It took like 3 steps. Then he's like at 12 yards. And I was like, oh my God, even if I start drawing back, he's going to run. He's going to hear me. He's going to see me. Something's going on. And so I had an open spot to shoot, like a shooting lane in the brush. And then there was like a thick thing of brush in the middle, and then a shooting lane to my right. And he turned, and the whole time he was super suspicious. He was like looking at me like this as he was walking super slow. And I was just like this, like with a face mask. I was totally brushed in. And I was like, as soon as he goes right behind that middle thing of brush, I have to draw. And as he went behind it, I closed my eyes and drew as smooth as I could. And the whole time I was like getting my anchor, I had my eyes closed. And then I opened my eyes, and I was like, he's going to be gone. He's going to be gone. He's going to be gone. I opened my eyes, and I saw his feet, his legs coming on the other side of the brush. And then he just stopped, and he just was looking at me in the blind. And I remember just thinking, hey, don't rush the shot. Don't rush the shot. And he was at like maybe 10 yards, 9 yards. And I put my first pin, he was looking right at me. I put my first pin like right here. And I released that arrow, and that buck just hit the dirt like this, like someone just took the rug out from underneath him. And he just hit the dirt. And Jason Medeiros, who I just met like an hour and a half earlier, I'd never met him in real life. He just come flying out of his blind, running full speed at me. and did like a flying hug and was so excited, and this monster buck on the ground in public land. And it was probably the most excited I've ever been hunting. And I'll never forget it.
Well, if anybody knows Shane, I remember that first time we would all be like, Shane, we're going back for lunch. I have a text thread. Hey, Shane, we're going to go back and get a burger and then come back for lunch. And Shane would be like, no, I'm good. Leave me out here amongst them.
Yeah, I was going to describe the first year down there as a photographer. I was, supposed to go on a hunt at least with every person on the trip. Never did go with Shane. I was supposed to meet up with him several different either mornings or afternoons, and he's like, I'm going to go by myself this morning, and then would just never come out of the field. And would see him at night, and that was it. And it was awesome. I was like even when we did that podcast with Joe, the whole time you could tell he was like, oh, this is just we're wasting hunting time, and I hate it. Why are we not in the field? We need to be stalking something.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have deer where I live. Like, the hunting where I live can be pretty good, but it's like pigs and goats and some sheep. And I don't have deer where I live. So I have like a real fascination about deer. And so when I get the opportunity to go somewhere like that, especially where we were hunting on private ground, and we had the place to ourselves, even though we had a big bunch of us. That is the pinnacle of access deer hunting, as far as my understanding of it is. And like, the place is like created for bow hunting. It was like someone designed the whole place for spot and stock bow hunting for access deer. And so for me, I've had so many blown stalks, so many missed shots, so many lost deer, so many ups and downs and emotional roller coasters where I walked out of the field at the end of the day with like no arrows and like a deflated ego. And so every minute of hunting time I get, I want to try and make the most of it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what that's about.
I know you explained it like that's the reason why, but every time I've hunted with you, you're like that. And I remember saying that to somebody even after we got back from New Zealand the first time we went down there. I'm like, I met this guy. I didn't know about I knew he was a big wave surfer and that he had done a lot of things. Then I started to find out some of the things he had done in his life and what he'd accomplished and where he was at, particularly in his journey. And to see somebody as accomplished as you, Shane, be so excited for every little idiosyncrasy, like every little intricate thing that has to do with bow hunting or the animal you're hunting, and learning about it and like jumping headfirst into it. I don't think it matters where you are. In fact, I know it doesn't. And I remember I think I told my wife that. I'm like, I met this guy, the nicest guy you've ever met, but more excited about hunting. He inspired me to get more excited about bow hunting. And if there's any reason to pick up a bow, it would be like somebody like Shane, who has traveled the world and surfed the biggest waves and done some of the most dangerous things you could in the water. So like flip and be that excited about this, you can't. That's as infectious as it gets when it comes to bow hunting.
Well, I also found like bow hunting pretty late in my life. I didn't start bow hunting until I was 30. And when I found it, I fell head over heels in love with it. And in Hawaii, you don't have to wait for a season. It's like you're never like, oh, I'm 6 months away, I need to start shooting. I should probably get a new bow this season. Or there's no season. Like you're bow hunting every week if you want to, every day if you want to. And so I went from like never hunting before to like in my first year, probably hunting like 150 days. Like I was.
That's awesome.
And I became obsessed with not being a bad bow hunter. Like I wanted to become a good bow hunter so badly. And I started like hanging out with people that I knew people that I met who were really good at bow hunting. And I just became obsessed with getting better at it, trying to get better at like just learning all I possibly could. And I don't know, it's been an amazing journey. And I love bow hunting right now as much as I ever have. So
yeah, no, I've been privileged to kind of like see parts of your journey and be there at the specific points. And it's like I said, it's infectious, and it's like I said, if you don't know much about Shane and you're listening to this, you got to go back and watch. There's a lot of things you can watch about Shane, but you should. What was that recent documentary that was on HBO?
Momentum Generation.
Yeah, Momentum Generation.
Yeah.
I loved it. That shows you a lot about how Shane came up and what kind of life he had prior to his bow. You're an adult onset bow hunter, man.
Yes, that'd be me.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because this is me right here, like in a nutshell as a bow hunter. I've probably killed about 100 deer now with my bow, probably 80 of them being axis deer. And every time I go in the field where there's deer, I feel like it's my first time. I get super nervous. I get doe fever. Like if I see a doe, I start freaking out, like almost shaking. Like I get so excited. It's like my first time again. And I feel like a rookie. I make rookie mistakes. I never feel like I've killed 100 deer. It's such a trip. And every time I get one on the ground, I feel like it's a miracle.
That's the best way to handle it, man. I feel that same way too. But we should tell the story of the podcast. What did Rogan call it? The podcast in paradise, where it caused a lot of anxiety for Shane because we could have been hunting.
Yes,
and me too. But Sam, can you just tell the setup for this, how this happened, and where the hell we were?
Yeah, so we did the whole podcast in Rogan's room at the hotel. And we sat down around a round table and basically raided the fridge of whatever beer and whatever else was sitting in there, wine and liquor.
Like Rogan just went to the mini bar and took his big gorilla fucking hands
and just
grabbed
it all.
Grabbed all of the liquor and wine and beer in the mini bar and dumped it on the table around the Zoom recorder where there was 5 of us sitting, and then it just got out of control from there.
It really did. That was a really funny podcast, and honestly, one of the first ones I had ever been on. And so, talk about getting your feet wet on a podcast that millions of people listen to. But like at that time for me, like I was just introducing the bus project. Like Joe had been following along and like watching the build through my Instagram, and so I got to talk a little bit about the bus. But we spent the better part, whatever it was, hour and a half, 2 hours, like just talking about how amazing Lanai was and everything it had to offer. And, and then there was a lot of different arguments that ensued about stuff that didn't matter at all.
That's the worst podcast ever.
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible.
A drink was invented. I'm looking at all the photos from the trip, and my hard drive is called Cat Lady. Because I had to buy a new hard drive that summer, and I named it after the drink.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing that happened there. Yeah, we all got pretty drunk. I was buzzed, but John Dudley got as drunk as I've seen a human, and was putting wine. I don't even remember what the Cat Lady consisted of.
Red Bull, and tequila.
Yeah, wine, Red Bull, and tequila, and was drinking that and arguing with Joe Rogan of all people about UFC, about fighting. It was like Tank Abbott. Did Tank Abbott fight somebody in particular?
That was like a 10-minute part of it. And I was looking at you guys going, dude, you kidding me? There's deer out there right now. We're arguing about this fight that may or may not have ever happened. Like, nobody cares, dude. Let's get out of here.
I remember thinking, like, is Joe going to put this out there? Like, there's no way. There's no way. So yeah, it was just a booze-infused introduction. It was I think it was probably all of our first times on his show, the madness that is his show. And so go listen to that. It's called Podcast in Paradise. I can't find the episode number, but if you search...
There's no number.
There's no number.
It's literally called Podcast in Paradise.
That's it. We were so off the rails, it didn't even need a number. There's nothing in there. Yeah, so I don't know what else came out of that, but you did. I remember, Sam, you introduced your bus project. John and Joe argued about some fight, and while John was drinking the ultimate blackout concoction, which became afterwards, there was a bunch of meme pages about Cat Lady. The Cat Lady lived on after that show for quite a while. Yeah, I haven't heard about the Cat Lady in years, but in about probably 2 years. But at that point in 2017, it became a bit of a fad, which was, I worried about that for a long. There was like sleepless nights where I was waiting for a news story to break where somebody overdosed and died.
Hashtag Cat Lady.
Hashtag Cat Lady. But luckily we got out of there unscathed. I'm sure somebody was entertained by that podcast, but everybody from what I can remember, Shane, you got a buck. I think you got 2 bucks on that first trip, didn't you? 2 stags. I keep
2 or
saying
3.
bucks.
Yeah, I think I got 3 or 4 deer on that hunt.
Yeah.
So you
Oh yeah, because you killed 2 the last day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yep.
I killed the 1. Sam killed 1. John
Yep.
killed how many? It's hard.
See, that's
to
what
know.
you get when you hunt more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a weird concept.
2 + 2 = 4, Ben. You spend more
John
time.
killed.
You
Yeah.
hunt longer. You hunt more, and you get more opportunities.
I just always remember Shane would just like appear out of the brush onto the road at night, just red from head to toe, black face paint, just looking like a ghost coming out of the brush.
Spooked about 2,000 deer each day.
Hadn't seen him in like 12 hours. He had aged about 5 years, and he was usually carrying a deer head on his way out. That's how we do it. But yeah, I mean that was the first. I mean, Lanai's become a thing that a lot of people do now, and thanks to the Pineapple Brothers who had us down that first year, they're up in their deal. But there is a lot of public land there for all of those that have probably asked a million times me, and I'm sure you, Shane, and even you, Sam, for the times that you've been there. I mean, there's great public land hunts. You can also go with Lanai, with the Pineapple Brothers is the outfitting group down there that runs out of the Four Seasons. So there's a lot of options to go there, man. And if you really want to experience what we just described, you can get it done. You just got to be, if you're not willing to pay what it takes to get in with the Pineapple Brothers, you just got to get real and plan it. You can really look at the public land that's there and take advantage. You definitely can. So it's all open for you. We should maybe close by talking about Bob the Butcher, because no Lanai story is complete without Bob the Butcher. So Shane, can you give a Bob the Butcher rundown? Like, what's this guy? Try to describe him if best you can.
Oh man, Bob the Butcher is he's what you would call a haole guy, and a haole is like a white dude basically from the mainland, and but Bob moved to Lanai a million years ago, met a local girl, I believe, and has lived on Lanai ever since. And he's like a Lanai boy at heart now, and everybody knows him, and he's like the classic Bob the Butcher guy. But if you go and kill 4 or 5 deer with your gun, or if you kill a deer with your bow, you can just literally just pull right up in front of his house. You don't have to call him. You don't have to text him. You just pull right up, and he'll drag that deer right out of your truck, and you pay $100, and he'll make the deer however you want. He'll put it into sausages. He'll make really killer rib racks. Everything's really like beautifully organized and very appetizing the way he cuts everything up, bags it all perfectly. Beautiful presentation. He'll put it in a cooler and send it to your house. He just and he's the only game in town like that. And he's incredibly detailed about. It's not like he's gonna just add your deer to the rest of the deer, and like you might get a rib rack from some like gun hunter from some other place. You're gonna get your exact deer, every single part. He's very meticulous, and he's always good for a good story and a good conversation as well.
Oh yeah, man, he's a legend. Sam, you want to try to just describe from your perspective who he is and kind of what he looks like? And
yeah, I mean, super interesting character. Kind of like he's bald, like semi-overweight, just kind of like this like stocky like guy. And like it seems like every time I'd wander over there to like either hang out and talk to him about, have him tell stories about living on the island, or watch him cut up deer, or shoot photos of the whole place. I mean, he was always just singing. Most of the time he didn't have a shirt on. Like he's just, like, or wearing like just like an apron and shorts, like I like super interesting character to say the least.
Oh yeah, man. And is the guy who always has a story for something. He's one of the happiest people you'll ever meet. Like he's always engaging. He would sit up and talk to you all night. Like if you endeavored to sit there with him in his kind of butchering area, his skinning area, and have a beer and talk, he would do it as long as you could possibly handle it.
But the good thing about sorry about that.
Yep,
Sam.
Oh, I was going to say, I think one of my favorite stories that he told me was I was talking about all the turkeys on Lanai, but there's no spring season. And he was like, oh man, you just need to come back in the fall when the season's open. We hunt them like quail. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, oh yeah, we run dogs and we'll flush coveys of turkeys of like 300-400, and you can shoot one a day per day of the season. He's like, I shot 27 last year. So.
Oh, he's the best. Yeah. So
Well,
if you
there's
ever
probably
make
like
it down,
4 turkey hunters on the whole island.
Oh, right. Exactly.
and there's not a tree bigger than 6 feet for them to roost in. So maybe sleeping in the roost, you could walk right up to him and push him out of it.
But the worst thing about Bob the Butcher is going there in the middle of the day. Like if you kill a deer at like 10 a.m. and you throw it in the back of the truck and you drive over there, for me it's like trying to get in and out of there as quick as I can. But he always wants to like chat and like tell stories and like hang out. And I'm like, Bob, dude, I'll come back tonight and hang out for an hour where we can hang out. But right now, dude, I'm putting this deer in your garage and I'm going straight back to the field because there's a lot of deer that need me out there.
Yeah, man. I would say that going to visit Bob, and then, after the fact, I got back to Texas when I lived there, and I would like reach in my freezer to grab I keep all my like straps and loins and some of the cuts I like more in one area of my freezer, and I would just reach in and grab something for dinner, and I would look and I would know like Bob the Butcher's handwriting, and I would get so excited when I would see that like the golden ticket from from my freezer that I knew this came from Bob's shop, and I knew this came from Lanai, and I knew I was going to get some of the best tasting meat there was. So you can't go down there without seeing Bob. You gotta go experience it. Like Shane said, maybe go after the hunt and be ready for a couple of hours of a good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good call.
Absolutely. Well, boys, before we get out of here, thanks for spending time with me. Shane, I know you got to get back to the beach, you son of a bitch. But you want to kind of give everybody your outlook on this, Shane. What you think about, how many weeks this might go on, or you don't have to give that prediction, but just how you're looking at the future with this quarantine and this pandemic.
Oh man, I don't know. It's a really tough subject for me. I mean, it's I have some really good friends that live in Spain and in Italy, and I've been talking to those friends, and they've been indoors and on real actual lockdown, not like Hawaii, you go surfing, but an actual lockdown where you can't leave your house for weeks now. And it's a dire situation, and it's really sad. And, I really fear that for Hawaii. Hawaii is a really fragile place. We have very limited amount of hospital beds and very limited amount of space and medical workers. And we have a lot of tourists that come here and, by the hundreds of thousands. And so I'm just a little worried, to be honest, and just trying to be really safe and hunker down a little bit more than normal, and really, really happy. I have 3 freezers full of food and probably 2 freezers full of wild game meat. And my family's happy about that as well. So just trying to get back to the basics and really appreciate what we have, and looking forward to the next time I go bow hunting.
That's right. I don't want to end on a sour note, but I just wanted to get everybody's perspective on this, because that things are important. Yeah. Sam, you want to give yours where you are now?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is just to realize that even though people like us are young and healthy and probably won't be all that much affected by the whole thing, we just have to be conscious of everyone and around us and everyone on the planet, really, and know that we're all in this together. There's no discrimination among anybody. We need to unite and just make sure we're keeping everybody that we can possibly safe, and do what we need to do to get through this crappy time.
That's right. Yeah. Well, boys, let's whenever this is all over, let's go back to Lanai. Deal?
Yes.
Yeah,
Deal.
Let's definitely get back together and go hunting again. No doubt.
Yeah, man. I miss it. Well, thanks so much for taking the time, guys, and be safe and keep your family safe, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, you guys.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
See ya. That's it. That's all. I've been asking Phil, the engineer, to rate every podcast. So, Phil, what do you rate this podcast? 1 out of 10. 10 being the best.
I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9. I have not heard it yet. The whole thing.
Perfect.
But I've got faith in you and Sam and Shane. So, and I think the listeners agree it was a 9. That's great.
That's for once you're being positive, and I really enjoy that. I think maybe with this quarantine, you're turning over a new leaf.
Yeah, I'm seeing the world in a whole new light.
All right. Well, thanks to Shane-O. Thanks to Sam for the second time for being on the Quarantine Cast. We're going to have a great episode for you tomorrow. And I think tomorrow is Steven Rinella and Giannis Patelis. I don't know if you're familiar with those gentlemen. They run a program called the Meat Eater Podcast. Some people listen to it, I believe. And it is a fine outdoor program. So Yanni and Steve tomorrow on the Quarantine Cast. I think a lot of you will be excited about that. We're going to get an update from Steve on his vacation to Mexico and Yanni's quarantine in the mountains of Montana. And then we're going to talk about our hunt in Mexico for Coues deer a couple of years back, where I first heard about this company that I work for now called Meat Eater Incorporated from Steve. So it'll be, and where we also did, Phil, if you didn't know this was definitely BP, where Steve and I recorded the first episode of the Hunting Collective on that trip. So it'll be good to relive those days that were far into the BP.
Yeah, I mean, I have not listened to that first episode, actually, but I will listen to this one.
Oh, my God. Oh, unbelievable. Your dedication just, it's a veil. You pull that veil back, it's ugly. Well, hopefully you listen to this one, Phil. I look forward to it. I always look forward to talking to Steve and Yanni, especially as Steve said on an all-company call recently, we don't appreciate the people we're around every day until we can't be around them. So it's good. It'll be good to check in with those boys and just have fun telling hunting stories. So come back tomorrow for that. That's it. Episode number 8 of the Quarantine Cast gone. Come join us for number 9 tomorrow. See ya.
The Hunting Collective with Ben O'Brien is a part of the Meat Eater Podcast Network. It is produced by Corinne Schneider and engineered by Phil Taylor. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, themeateater.com, or anywhere podcasts are downloadable. Wherever you listen, leave a 5-star review and subscribe.
Phil, you watched Tiger King?
I started it, Ben. I watched the first 2 episodes.
What? Give me your best description. Give me your best description of Joe Exotic.
Hero, friend to all, and he should introduce me to his hairstylist and music video director.
Yeah, if anybody is listening to the post-credit sequence right now, Google Here Kitty Kitty by Joe Exotic, and then thank me later. But yes, this is our first post-credit sequence where we're talking about what they will be in the future, and that's really it.
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins.